Shall we start again?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Can you see my slide?
Yes, miss.
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Madam,
madam.
it is visible, madam.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the next activity based, as you all know, the pedagogy that we can use, the method is role playing. You all know it. Maybe like whichever is known, I'll not go much for this one. Of course, maybe taking a particular concept or a theme or some particular theory which we need to discuss, the teacher can have a lecture beforehand. Then after the students have understood the complete context or maybe concept and all that, the roles can be assigned to the students, maybe in groups, right? And that the students can enact those roles so that others can watch and observe and understand the particular concept very, very clearly. So maybe in a particular lesson, if there are 3 to 4 concepts are there, so the concepts can be given to 4, 5 small groups, and the students can enact those roles. And so that the other students can all, because those who are being assigned the role, they prepare well for that and they will present it, not only like maybe portraying it physically, but also maybe delivering in the form of dialogues, whatever the content or the knowledge is there, and the other students while watching it, and that the visual would also be registered in the minds of the students. So that way, like any concepts or maybe small probably the theories or new ideas and all that can be discussed by using the role play as one of the important activity based pedagogy. Also, text cards. These text cards are just like flashcards, like we use it in maybe primary or even pre-primary and all that. But here, these flashcards are these text cards can be used even at a higher level. But here, maybe keeping a particular fact, this is a easy way to remember whether some particular statement is true, false, or whether you agree with that or disagree with that, or there can be matching pairs, there can be classification, there can be sequencing, any such things can be written maybe on a particular card. They are called as text card. Different cards can be there. Either the students can work individually, they can also work in pairs, or they can work in groups and sort out the cards based on given the format. So they should sort out which are the statements which are true and sort out the cards which are false. Or they can say these statements are agreeable, these statements are disagreeable. Or maybe there can be matching pairs that the students can sort out or classify. So like match the following or true, false, or whatever sequencing we do, maybe in your workbook, instead of that, they are in the form of a card and they would do it physically starting out. Okay. So that way the students will be involved in checking for the cards which match each other, or maybe classifying or finding out which is a true one, which is a false one. So that way it will be it involves the students physically also. So they are thinking maps. So these thinking maps are as good as like your concept maps. So that's all. Like for example, when we are saying like it is a visual presentation again, like it is as good as a concept map. It's a thinking map. Why we are calling it as a thinking map? The students can give anything that he thinks that which is related to that. It is not necessary. Somebody wants to ask a question. Hello? Somebody wants to ask a question. Okay. See, it's as good as like a concept map. In a thinking map, anybody who wants to add anything to this, they can write it and they can add to that. Like for example, here it is one of the screenshots that is been taken. Plants. Plants have seeds, roots, leaves, stems, and flowers. They need water, soil, sun, and you can keep adding. And they give fruits, vegetables, seeds, oxygen. You can keep adding the list. So that is why it is called as a thinking maps. That can be another activity. That means you can include like many types of bridge maps. Like for example, here you are having fruit. When you say fruits, okay, you can again further branch it out. There can be different types of fruits, maybe advantages or maybe users and all that, and where they are grown, where they are found, which type of varieties of fruits. and they can be divided into dry fruits, fresh fruits, whatever it is, like vegetables, same thing. So that it can also lead to multiple ways of presenting it, branching it out. That's why they are called as a thinking map. Cause and effects, everything. So there can be multiple flow maps can be shown using this thinking map. The context-based learning. See, this context-based learning is nothing but the field-based learning. For example, I was talking to you, maybe environmental pollution, water pollution, or maybe the air pollution. So it can be made a context-based. The lesson can be made context-based. So what is that? If at all, if you want a student to understand, like how does the water body gets contaminated, you can take the students maybe to a water body where it is contaminated, and what type of things have polluted the water, what are the some pollutions which are found in that, what can be the consequences of this polluted water. Or that means you are going to a real field, and you can also be talking to the people who are living around and asking them like what type of use of contaminated water, or in case maybe it is around that any health issues that they are having, and they can learn the causes for that pollution, the consequences of that pollution. That is called context based learning. Maybe if it is an environmental pollution and you go there, sometimes you want to teach the students maybe the civic awareness. Sometimes you are taking the teacher schools taking the children maybe to the traffic this one, like how the accident-free zones can be created and how the traffics can be controlled. So many a times you are taking the children to the natural settings, and by listening and by hearing to the people there, maybe the natives or maybe the guides or maybe the people working there, you learn about them and you get to know, and then you can prepare a report, interpret the new information, right? And relate like what is already known and what is the reality. Sometimes you may be learning like consequences of maybe the polluted water. When you go there, when people speak about it, there may be certain new things which people may speak, which you are not found it in maybe in your textbook. So that way, you are going to the real actual field, talk to experts, talk to natives, talk to people, or maybe the real stakeholders. Then you understand a problem in detail. That is exploring the real world around us, and then you are learning. That is called as context based learning, that can be used at a lower level as well as that can be used at a higher level also. And apart from that, documented problem solving. So this documented problem solving can happen through library work, or it can happen over it is as good as like a project. It can also be field based. Maybe in a context based learning, you may go there, you may observe, you may talk to people, and you may learn. But in a documented problem solving, it is as good as like a context based. But you, whatever is been seen, whatever is been observed, whatever is been analyzed, you try to analyze it, synthesize it, interpret it, and then you report it. Okay. And that reporting is a very, very important part of it. Documentation can include, maybe you are taking a picture, maybe you are conducting an interview, or maybe you are also making it note taking, maybe you are recording the people's or like whatever they sharing of opinion. So all these can be maybe orally, maybe visually, that can be both audio visual. So these type of problem solving, and how you can solve, you can ask the natives how you can solve the problem, what do you expect maybe the community to do, the people to do, or maybe the policymakers or the government to do. These things can be documented in order to solve a problem. So this type of learning is called as documented problem solving, and it is a good research based learning method, students. Apart from that, crossover learning. Crossover learning is nothing but maybe like whatever the content is being taught into the classroom. Like if at all, if you want to find out, or maybe you want to know the validity of the information, or you want to cross check, or you want to know like whether it is true, or you want to further expand it, or you further want to know like whatever learned is correct, you can talk to maybe expert, you can visit museums, again you can have the field trips, and you can propose a question maybe in the class, talk in informal settings, find answers and share the findings, right? And that means maybe it is as good as crossover learning. you will have multiple sources to learn the same content, or maybe a skill, or get yourself, in case if you want to develop an attitude. So that doesn't happen just in one setting. It requires an again and again similar type of experience in different settings for different people to develop an attitude. So that requires multiple settings. The same thing or the content can be verified in multiple ways through multiple people, and that is called, that means for more strengthening, and that type of learning is called as, that is from multiple sources, multiple people, and in multiple ways, right? And then you can also share it with others, or maybe discuss with others. This type of learning, which involves an individual both mentally as well as physically, is also an activity based pedagogy. It is called, that strategy is called crossover learning. And finally, maybe the projects. As we all know, like what projects are there. A simple question is thrown, or a topic is selected, and either it can be individual or it can be in small groups, and the students get to find out the answers, and they will have the hypothesis, and they try to collect the data through the secondary sources and through primary sources, maybe by meeting the people, or then they will have a plan of action, and then they execute that plan, and then they find out the through analyzing the data, find out the results. Then they will be documenting it many a times, right? And that would help them in developing the skills of analyzing, skills of researching, problem solving, expressing. And also, when you go to the field, when you meet people, when you meet the stakeholders, collect the data, you learn to overcome the challenges also. If you are working for a project in a small group, and you learn how to work in a teamwork, sharing, cooperating, maybe adjusting, or probably learning from each other. And you also know like where you stand in your group, and what are your strengths, and maybe the likely weaknesses which you need to improve. So that helps you in knowing one's own self-assessment. So the projects, either individually or group, can help a student to showcase like their own skills and knowledge, as well as improve the further skills which are required. And again, we can say research books. So research books, and of course, they are nothing but as good as projects. Usually, in case of a project, also many a times, maybe when small children are given, they can also be in the form of pictures, maybe in the form of very informal also, maybe at a more serious note. When we say it is a serious note, like just like a project only, and it is just like a problem solving only, but the students would be on a more serious side, maybe collecting the material, hypothesizing it, analyzing, collecting the data, and extending the knowledge beyond the syllabus. Like whatever it is, their knowledge can also be presented in the form of diagrams, pictures, maybe graphs, charts, and then their research books can be shared with other classmates. So each one will have a research book, and that will be shared with each other, presented to each other. It is like a research, like a dissemination of the findings. So that would help it. These research books, maybe there is a topic in a textbook, and that might be a limited knowledge, and you are working on it, and you are expanding its your horizon, and then you are presenting it, maybe the more facts, maybe the further deeper knowledge that helps the other students in understanding topic, and that way all other students topics would enrich the other students in understanding the topics, and the more enriched learning would take place. And of course, it is peer teaching, or maybe it is can also be called as even cooperative learning, wherein maybe it can be a pair, or it can be a group of 5, 6, or 10, where the students are engaged, and the students would assign a role to themselves, and maybe each one would work out on a small topic, or maybe parts of a topic, and they share the information, and they become thorough with that particular whatever concept, or with that, and then they explain it in a small group, and then that the small groups, after learning from each other, maybe that can also be shared further, or maybe it can be the same topics can be given to 5 groups, all 5 groups, maybe each one can have an assigned role to teach each other and learn from each other. So it is as good as like a collaborative or a cooperative learning, that is peer teaching. That is another activity based method. It is a jigsaws. Maybe the student learn a piece of information world to be teach to another. So there is not much of a difference. Like in a collaborative teaching, even there to teach another student, probably you need to learn and then only you can explain. But in case of a peer teaching, what happens? One student might have masterized the material very well, and other student may be a little bit weak. And the student who is very strong, probably you would teach another student. You must have seen when we were in primary school that a student who is well versed or has a mastery is paired with another student, so that they would help that another student. That can also be happen, or it can also be a mutual teaching. But in case of a jigsaw, each one will have a assigned role, but different piece of information one needs to research, collect, and work on it, and become and develop mastery in that, and then they should teach to each other. So they are all on equal grounds. It is not that merely one person teaching the another person. Like unlike in peer group, in jigsaw, each one is supposed to learn, master it, and then share it with each other in a maybe with 2 people or 3 or 4 or 5, or they can also, the small groups can go up to even 7 to 10 also, depending on the number of groups that a teacher can handle. This is called as, and of course, many a times it develops a challenge for the students to create their own learning and engaging the other students whenever they are sharing with others also. So in conclusion, we can say active learning pedagogy triggers the students' innate curiosity about the world and how things work. And they also become engaged by applying their existing knowledge and real world experience, learning to hypothesize, testing the theories, and drawing conclusions from their findings. And activities for individual learning help the teacher with feedback concerning students' understanding and retention of material. So nowadays, we are only concentrating only on the technology based pedagogies. And of course, apart from that, like if at all, if you want the constructive knowledge to be developed and the participative learning to happen, maybe apart from your technology based pedagogies, active learning pedagogies can also equally achieve the goal more or less in the same manner, by engaging the students together either in small groups or even in individually. Because physical involvement, not only the mental involvement, physical involvement, and involve the physical involvement in small group leads to social interactions, lead to developing of attitudes, lead to development of values. That is very very important in an education context. So that way, these activity based pedagogy of learning is an important part in an education, that motivates the other learners to learn from each other's experience, the ability to observe, think, create, solve problems, having the students engaged where head, heart, and hands, they are all engaged in the activity based pedagogy. So that means that whether it is at a lower level, even at a higher level, engagement on the part of the student to think like what they are learning is very very important. So activity based learning can be used as a part of maybe in our system, right from maybe the lower level to the higher levels. So thank you. I'll go to the another session, and maybe later we will you can raise the questions maybe at the end of the one, because I'm having another part of it, which is technology based pedagogy. Sorry.
Okay.
Can you see my screen share? Are you seeing?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. The first part was based on activity-based pedagogy. Not that everywhere that the technology is available. Not that in every situation, probably we can make technology work, wherein activity-based pedagogy will have a similar effect, where it involves head, heart, and again, maybe the hand that can be used. But in teaching learning in modern days, it is influenced by technology. So we cannot turn a blind eye to the existence of technology. And apart from the activity-based pedagogy, we can also have these technology-based pedagogies also to be used, the technological tools for maybe teaching as well as the learning. Because as we know that the present generation of students, they are attracted by these various types of digital devices, since they are called as Y generation learners, not X, but they are Y generation, because they make use of the ICT in learning, which will help the students to promote open source learning also. It's not that limited to they don't depend completely only on the teacher. When it comes to the technology based pedagogy, there are various ways where the students, when we spoke about teacher centered, like both the teacher and the student, like activity based is nothing but dialogue, and the other one is self study, where the completely student centered. So it is the technology based pedagogy which promotes these self learning as well as these type of individual learning, in order to make, and that means in order to create information, store information, transmit information, manipulate information. And this use of ICT helps these students by making use of various types of technological tools in order to learn the topic from multiple sources. And there are many digital devices are used in today's classrooms. So nowadays, the more the digital devices, the more we expect, we think that the schools are very, very effective, and that they are imparting very high level, high standard education. So these, of course, definitely these digital devices can also be used for developing the problem solving ability of the students, ability to analyze as well as synthesis of ideas. And these tools, there are various technological tools. Nowadays, we are having smartphones, maybe not only the computers, but the various other types of apps are available to us using the different types of electronic devices which are uh, um, available to us. Several strategies can be used by the teachers, that is in classroom as well as out of the classroom, that is for teaching a particular subject. I'm going bit faster because there is not much that, as you don't know. I'm so that I can present all these slides to you. Is it okay? Okay to you?
Madam. Yes,
Okay,
madam.
okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
madam. Yes,
So, of
madam.
course, you all know the social media.
Yes.
The social media is, of course, one of a very, very strong, the social media are having a very, very strong effect. And that can, these media, social media platform can be used even to teach, or that can also be utilized for teaching as well as learning. You know that probably, whether they are Facebooks, whether they are WhatsApp, whether there are tutors, there are various hangouts. There are different types of social medias which are used by the younger generation, that is either from a lower primary to a higher education, even till universities. This social media can be a very, very important platform in order to share, in order to keep the students engaged, and to keep them very active in their learning, that is maybe teaching through the videos. And there can be also pre-learning activities, that assignments the students can do, and learning can take place and teaching can take place using these social medias. And apart from that, there are also virtual labs as well as remote labs. So nowadays, of course, the problem of solving whatever it is quantity, the problem of establishing the real labs for the buildings, the teachers, and online and all that, to a greater extent can be solved through these virtual labs and remote labs. The students can have the simulations both inside and outside, maybe using the internet, or maybe this one. And they can also, that can help them in developing hands-on experience of learning, and the subject can be learned without much expenses. There are so many virtual labs where the detailed diagrams, illustrations, close-up pictures, they will allow the students to virtually get a situation without actually doing it. Like, for example, you must have seen very recently, there are three-dimensional, these virtual to remote lab or actual labs. Maybe like whenever there are medical students, they need to conduct maybe a surgery or anything, and they can learn about the internal parts and how they work and all, maybe in a form of layer. And of course, without a actual practice or actual, a student develops the skill of maybe conducting a surgery, he cannot be a good surgeon. That is different. But in order to learn that particular theory, instead of learning it in an abstract manner, maybe using these virtual labs and remote labs, they have an opportunity for trial and error that cannot happen on a real situation, maybe in a real operation theater. They have an opportunity to learn it, to do it, to do other detailed diagrams or maybe illustrations in teaching and whatever it is, close pictures. So that is possible using technology, and these are the technology based strategies that can be used, that will help the students, even teachers, to use different templates to present the data, and it would also help the students to learn using this type of virtual lab. And of course, we know like flip learning is another important technology based tool. Like rather than tool, we say that it is one of the approach to teaching and learning, and it is a method of learning, and it will allow the teacher to implement the various methods and methods. So we call it flip learning. It reverses the traditional teaching pattern. What happens in a traditional pattern? Usually the teacher comes to the class, maybe introduces a topic, like delivers a lecture, or maybe demonstrates, conduct an experiment, then they go ahead, even if it is an active based learning also. But in case of a plus flip learning, it is maybe a reversal of it. What happens? A teacher will allow a student, maybe whatever the material that the student is supposed to learn from multiple sources, maybe it is online, or maybe it is virtual, or maybe visual, maybe audio taped, or maybe the textual material. Everything is shared with the students in a group, right? That is online outside the classroom. The student prepares outside the classroom, that is maybe at home or whatever it is, shared with them, goes prepared to the class with all the content that is shared by a teacher from multiple sources. And the classroom is used not for teaching, classroom is used for further conducting activities, like whatever is learned here. There the student would practice, maybe in the form of experiment, maybe in the form of demonstration, and maybe they do it in the outside the classrooms, and they would have the hands-on experience, they may have the discussions, right? And they may involve in an activity, and that would be done in a regular classroom. So it is a reversal of a traditional teaching pattern. So that is one of a very, very important approach, which allows the teacher to impart the whatever the content knowledge is there in a more with a wider scope, because the teacher is sharing all the material, visual, textual, like online, everything the teacher is sharing, and then the students come prepared to the class and just involve in conducting, or maybe activities involving in discussions and various things. So that methodology, or that it's a flip learning, is a very, very important approach in teaching and learning, and it is a new pedagogy that we can call it as. And then, of course, we all know about multimedia packages. So even in for flip learning also, the teacher shares all the materials, which are nothing but all these multimedia. But here in that may be an independent media. But here in a multimedia package, maybe the material, in flip learning, there may be material which is supplementary as well as complementary. But in a multimedia package, maybe adequate material on a particular topic is collected, and it is an integrated package, whether it is audio, video, animated, text, or graphic, whatever it is. that is on a particular single topic that is provided by the teacher. It can be in class and out class, which is available to the students so that learning takes place. Probably maybe some students require more longer hours in order to mastery or have a mastery of a topic. Some students may learn maybe at their own pace. So that way, multimedia package, like as I said already, not only teachers will have different teaching styles, but at the same time, even students are also having different learning styles. Some have visual, auditory, and again, there are also students with kinesthetic. Here, this is a multimedia packages, just gives an opportunity to all the students to hear, to listen, or animate, or see the text, or maybe in a virtual reality to play maybe the games or to do some activities, simulations, and all that. That helps them in their learning. This is what I told you. It is a blend of all these things, text, audio, video, and all that, so that the students can understand with a wide range of activities and multiple sources materials. They can understand the concept or maybe the topic very well. And of course, video clips. And here in this pedagogy, maybe there can also be instructional video clips available online or in libraries to show and teach a new concept. Many a times these video clips are prepared, maybe like for example, the what we call it as Indira Gandhi Open University, maybe they were having video clips, and NCRT was preparing video clips for the school students, maybe on science and on various subjects, so that the certain the evolution of a process or maybe science concepts or maybe other subjects can be taught using the video clips. So it is maybe video clips maybe on a theory or maybe introduced with certain experts like scientists, or maybe video clips help in better understanding of whatever the topic is or maybe a concept or a phenomena. And of course, the easiest of all, the PowerPoints are just a alternative for lecturing. I'm just lecturing. Apart from hearing, there are also visuals available. We talk about the retention of learning takes place the more the number of senses are involved. In case of lecturing, what happens? Only one sense of hearing is ears are involved. When case of a PowerPoint, what happens? The teacher is lecturing. Apart from that, there is also a visual presentation. So the students who have a who are hard of hearing, they can watch the PowerPoint, they can understand. And sometimes some students have a weak visual vision and they cannot see person, they can hear and they can understand. So two senses are involved, seeing as well as hearing. So power use of PowerPoints with a lecture, right? Or maybe with a commentary is better than just a mere traditional lecture. So the PowerPoints can be made maybe on the description of facts, or maybe for a concept presentation, or maybe for a diagram, or it can also be having a chart, and they can be made even interactive. It can also be given the animated effects, and pictures can also be created with the presented through these PowerPoints. Like means you can have a screenshot or you can have a real picture and you can put it in a slide and you can show it. So this is the most useful and the most simple technological tool that you can use it, and so that the learning becomes more easier as compared to mere lectures. Of course, games which are available on very educational games are also there for children and for different levels and even for various subjects. And not only the science games that will be useful, not only the social science or not mathematics are for children, even at a higher level, there are so many other types of such types of games which are useful. Maybe whether they are available, whether they are used on computers or on mobile apps and all that, that will be very, very helpful for the students maybe to learn. And nowadays, you must have been seeing not only the kids are using this to learn using games, not only for entertainment, but also for learning. They are also adults. Maybe many of you also probably like to play games both for entertainment purpose as well as maybe for learning, because gamification is considered to be a very, very new innovation in teaching and learning. So the students can learn while playing, and it also saves time and cost of the students. And also the real experiments, which requires a lot of time as well as cost, can also be made as simulations, and it can also impart the same learning. Okay, so that way gamification is an important innovation in the field of education, which helps both in teaching as well as in learning. You can use it as an important tool, or the technology as based pedagogy for the students, so that learning takes place and also the teaching can be made more effective. And definitely the interactive journals. The interactive journals are nothing but it is an advanced version of a lecture notes in which the students express the information they learn into different templates and elicit their own responses. So it is like the teacher, maybe electronic lecture notes or materials or whatever is shared with the students. There is also a in an interactive journal. There is also, when the students are learning outside the classroom or maybe inside the classroom, there is also a discussion board created where the students can ask a question to a teacher or maybe to classmates or a group, and the students can discuss among themselves on a particular topic. They can have different opinions, and the teacher can also intervene and give the opinion. The teacher can answer to the different questions, and the opinions can be shared. Usually this can be done while using even flipped learning also, and with other apps also. This interactive journal where the students and teacher as well as students, they learn through different templates, and they can also elicit their own responses, and that connection becomes very, very deeper to learning through this activity also, because that develops higher order thinking. They are discussing with each other as well as discussing with the teacher. Maybe the concept or a topic is probably discussed in a number of ways with multiple divergent thinking, with different pros and cons. Wherever there is a discussion board which allows the students to interact with each other and interact with student and teachers, and such type of, and their whatever they express information, that is recorded and that is shared, right? That is the reason, and it is available to all the people. That is why that type of a platform is called as a interactive journal. And apart from this, we can also say that learning is a thing which is very, very important for any parent, because nowadays achievement is assessed through marks, children's marks. Any parent is concerned about the child's or maybe the child's achievement, that is in the form of marks. So that marks, like whatever that the marks the student gets, that happens only if there is a proper learning or if the student has understood properly. So learning is very, very important, because teaching cannot happen in vacuum. And the teaching is meaningless without a learner acquiring the learning. So the ultimate goal of teaching is only learning. So the focus should be on learning rather than on
It's not audible, madam.
Network issue, I think.
Okay.
Past.